Welcome to the Cosmic Buster. My name is Bobby Cody. What did Genghis Khan look like, and why is it important? This is going to be video one in what I'm going to call my Tartarian Empire video series. First, let's get to Genghis Khan. There's a video, it's actually a promotion for a TV show. It's about a fire department or something. I don't watch TV too much. But in the promo, a person's taking a DNA test and he's giving his results to his fellow firemen. He says, "Hey, I'm related to Genghis Khan." And another guy replies, "Yeah, sure, we're all related to Genghis Khan." It's not literally true. But it is figuratively true. Genghis Khan was one of the most prolific breeders in human history, and it's because he conquered such a wide swath of land. Genghis Khan, he created the largest empire ever, and wherever he went, his men would bring him the most beautiful women from the cities for him to sleep with and impregnate. And he had literally thousands and thousands of brethren, and they were both revered and feared as well, because Genghis Khan's legacy lived on for quite a while. So they, of course, bred quite a bit too. And so as a result, I'm not sure, I've heard 2%, up to 2% of humanity is descended from Genghis Khan. I've also seen 1 out of 200, but it's still an extraordinary, almost nobody is bred as much as Genghis Khan and has so many descendants as Genghis Khan. And he also killed all the cities. You know, he wiped out, nobody killed so many people as Genghis Khan. He wiped out entire cities. He was quite ferocious. But I want to talk about what he looked like. I'm going to put up real quick a picture of the typical Genghis Khan. You've probably seen this depiction many times. He's depicted as Asian. That's the popular stereotype of Genghis Khan that we are given, and I have heard that stereotype is wrong, and we're going to look into that and why it may be wrong. But first, I want to cut to a map of the Mongol Empire, just to give you a sense of what Genghis Khan did, the whole swath of territory that he conquered and took over. I'm going to put up the map right here. You can see from far away, you can see that red swath. That's the Mongol Empire, and that's everything that he took over. I'm going to cut to a close-up of that real quick. I just want to give you a close-up of the Mongol Empire, what it looked like. I want to go through the borders real quick and how wide it is, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about what Genghis Khan looked like. Here we have a map of, it's essentially Europe, Asia, and North Africa. And in red, you can see the Mongol Empire. Look at that huge red swath cutting across the entire Indo-European landmass. This is Genghis Khan's Mongol Empire. Genghis Khan is the greatest conqueror the world has ever known. Genghis Khan and his hordes conquered from Korea, China, and Vietnam on the right in the east, all the way to Eastern Europe on the left. So Genghis Khan's Mongol Empire, largest land empire that ever existed, lasted from the years 1206 to about 1368. It's 162 years. What I want to do now is I want to interweave some stories about Genghis Khan, because this guy, nobody exemplifies the best and the worst of humankind. I mean, the extremes of best, extremes of worst. And I want to interweave some of his story through this, because it's important to arriving at what Genghis Khan looked like. So I'm going to interweave some of this tales through the story. It's going to be incredible when you find out some of these stories about Genghis Khan, those of you who don't know. So Genghis Khan, his father was the Khan. Now Khan wasn't his name. Genghis Khan, he wasn't born Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan was his ruler's name. Once he became the ruler, he was now the Genghis Khan. Uh, he was born Temujin, Temujin, Temujin. His father was the Khan of their tribe, so his father was the leader. I won't get into all the little details regarding his life. It's amazing. Went into exile, started up his own tribe, and then ultimately became the leader of everything, all the tribes. It's an incredible story. But what I want to talk about is his father. So, Genghis Khan or Temujin was of noble blood. His father was the Khan, and his father had gone to some rival or got some other guy's home as a guest, an invited guest, and he went there, and the guy killed him in order to take over. And aside from that being horrible, that's how his father died. That's a violation of a sacred honor. A guest, you don't violate the guest, and especially you don't kill the guest. Um, so that was a big thing for Temujin and especially and Genghis Khan as he later became, and that especially became a big thing in the way that he conquered the world. As he would go into cities, he would send an emissary first. Send his emissary in, go to the city, they say, hey, Genghis Khan, boy, he wants you guys to pay tribute. If you guys don't pay tribute, he's going to come over and take you guys and slaughter everybody. And, the king of that city would say, who are you? You're talking like this? Boom. They almost always kill him, kill the emissary, their guest. Genghis Khan said, they killed him just like my father. They violated, and boom, he would go in and he would slaughter everybody in the city. Absolutely slaughter them. Now, one important thing that he would do, however, is that he would spare some. And those that he would spare were those who were important, who had resources that he could utilize. He was smart. So, like engineers, skilled craftsmen, priests as well, because the Mongol Empire and the way they ran their empire was multilingual, multi-ethnic. So he wanted priests, and multi-religious. He wanted multiracial. So he wanted priests for his flock and his soldiers and all the disparate religions and ethnicities that he had in his empire and in his army. So those are the ones who end. Also, and others got spared, the beautiful women. All the beautiful women, he would have them gather up all the beautiful ones, bring them to Genghis Khan, they're mine. And obviously he would have his way with them. And that's how the Genghis Khan gene spread so far. Like I stated before, I think 2% is one of the numbers of humanity is descended from Genghis Khan. And this is why this huge swath of land, this man was going around killing everybody and fucking all the beautiful women. Thousands and thousands and thousands of descendants. Now, ultimately, with his death, the empire split. He had his favorite wife. There's a story with her, which I won't go into. But he had 4 sons with his favorite wife. So these 4 sons, he divided the empire between the 4 sons. I'll put the map up there right now so you can see the way it was divided. And it was essentially into 4 different quadrants. I won't go into the different quadrants. You can see to stop that and look at it if you want to take a look at all the different ones that there are. But you know, all the rulers of three of the quadrants, nobody knows who they are. There's one quadrant most people know. He's a very famous historical figure. It's the one in yellow there. His name is Kublai Khan. So when Genghis Khan divided the empire into four, this particular quadrant, I don't think it went to his son. I think they bypassed his son and he gave it to his grandson. And that's who Kublai Khan is. Kublai Khan is Genghis Khan's grandson, and he lorded over that yellow area, which is essentially China, and Grand China, though, China in a much larger sense. So he took over this area, and that's the Kublai Khan that is famous, and that's the one we have depictions of too, because we have no depictions of Genghis Khan from when he was Genghis Khan. Nobody said, "Oh, Genghis, let me do your portrait." We have nothing, or at least nobody. We have no, no. None of that never came down to us through history. We don't have that at all. So we don't know what Genghis Khan looks like from first half depictions. We do have them of Kublai Khan, though, this famous historical figure. And as I showed, we know he was Asian, no question about it. So we know Kublai Khan looked like. Does that mean that Genghis Khan was Asian as well, as is typically depicted? Well, not necessarily. Genghis Khan was his grandfather. So now all the different sections of the empire that broke up, essentially all of the sons, all of Genghis Khan's sons, they went local. The one that was in the Golden Horde, it was essentially Russia and area, he went local. One in Persia, he went local. One in what's essentially Afghanistan area, not Pakistan necessarily, but is it Thracia? I don't think it's Thracia. But the other section, he went local too. They all went local, and Kublai Khan went local too, as did his father. So what does that mean that they went local? Well, that means they married local natives, so their kids would look more like the natives than the originator, the grandfather. So it doesn't necessarily mean based on Kublai Khan, but that's going to be important in a moment, why I'm talking about that. But all of our knowledge of what Kublai Khan, of what Genghis Khan looks like, comes essentially through Kublai Khan. We know what Kublai Khan looks like. Oh, so here's his grandpa, just like him. Here's a Genghis Khan had to look just like Kublai Khan, not necessarily. And that's what we're going to talk about right now, because there's one first-hand account of what Genghis Khan looked like. We have no depictions of him, but we have one eyewitness who saw Genghis Khan in historical records, who says, I saw Genghis Khan and I know what it looked like. Wasn't Asian. Genghis Khan had red hair and blue eyes, according to this eyewitness account. I'm going to pull up a depiction there. This isn't necessarily something that was done around his time or anything. I don't know where this came from. But this is just a theoretical depiction of what he may have looked like with red hair. We know he certainly had a beard, as all his descendants did, other than Kublai Khan, because Kublai Khan couldn't, because he wasn't Caucasian. Kublai Khan's father, Tolui, married an Asian. They had the kid, Kublai Khan, so Kublai Khan is half Asian. He can't grow a full beard. Genghis could. And I'm going to show that, why I think that, and I'm going to take you through that journey right now of how I came to the conclusion, yep, Genghis Khan, red hair, blue eyes. And it's, the confluence of evidence is so overwhelming. I'm going to take you through that right now, that you have to come to that conclusion. So we're going to do that right now. So we had the one eyewitness saying red hair, blue eyes. Well, what else do we have? Well, I'm going to throw up that map again of the Mongol Empire. We'll see where that is. It goes, in the Pacific, China and the Vietnam and Korea on the west, on the east side, and Eastern Europe on the left side. That's where it extends. Largest ever, just huge, huge, huge empire. This same area is where Russia is, which is Caucasian, and where what's called the Yamnaya culture. The Yamnaya culture is essentially the culture that ultimately invaded Europe and gave them their blonde hair, red hair, and blue eyes. That predominantly came from the Yamnaya civilization, and this was around, I know this was the BCs. I think it was like 4,000 BC, 2000 BC, sometime around there. It might have even been 6,000 BC. I don't think it was that far though. I think it was around 3 or 4,000 BC that this happened. Um, but this Yamnaya civilization that came through and invaded Europe, where'd they come from? They came from the Mongol Empire, where the Mongol Empire was. But 2,000 or 3,000 years earlier than the Mongol Empire existed. So we know there's a history of blonde and red and blue eye, blonde hair, red hair, and blue eyes in this area, because we have the DNA. We found out about this Yamnaya civilization through the DNA, so there's no question about what they looked like, and they existed all through this Mongol Empire, exactly where it is in north of China. So there's more evidence though. Now, Western China, we found out. Let me start with this. They actually found mummies. They're called the Tarim mummies, or I know them as the Tocharian mummies. Tarim is Tarim, Tarim mummies. Tocharian is Tocharian, Tocharian mummies. These mummies, they found them in Western China. They date to between 1,800 BC and about 0 BC, around the time of Jesus. So from 1800 BC to 0 BC, and they uncovered these mummies, dug them up, and this is Western China. What do they look like? 6'5", 6'6" are the men. The women are almost 6 feet tall. They have blonde hair, red hair, blue eyes, Caucasian features. In China, in Western China. So we have a long history of red hair, blonde hair, and blue eyes in this area based on recent excavations that we found. This is a very recent find of this Terra mummies. So now, okay, I know all this. This I already know, and so I can synthesize all this stuff and say that this has a high degree of likelihood of being true. Red hair, blue eyes. I don't see why it can't be possible that Genghis. It looks like it is. It's logical. So then I did some research based on to see, Genghis Khan more, and I found out these peoples in Pakistan. Pakistan, for those of you know, I grew up with a Pakistani guy, so I know what Pakistanis look like. I've seen many Pakistanis. They have, generally speaking, not exclusively, but generally speaking, they have jet black hair, brown skin, dark eyes as well. That tends to be the stereotype because it fits in Pakistan. And there's this people, as I was doing the research, there's this people called the Hazara people. The Hazara people. Hazara, Hazara. So you can look that up. They claim to be descended from Genghis Khan. And they lived in Pakistan. So I said, now this is interesting. So what I can do is take a look at what these people look like and see why they would say they're descended from Genghis Khan, or if they have any specific features in common that might suggest they are related from Genghis Khan. So I do a little research on Hazara people, and I'll throw up some picture right there of Hazara people. blue eyes, light skin. Throw another one, blue eyes, and kind of a brown, but almost a amber hair with this one. So there's a reddish to it. Look at this one, blue eyes, and if you look closely, in the little corner of her hair, you can see it's just red. The hair is just ginger red. She's a redhead. These people are red hair, blue eyes in Pakistan. Well, wow, this is pretty significant. You know, this is an outlier and suggests this might be true. Now, I did a lot of research on what other people thought about this, and a lot of people said, oh, well, they may not descended from Genghis Khan, so that. I'm not going to go into their research and their conclusions because they don't understand history and they don't understand what happened with Genghis Khan and his descendants. I mean, he split it up, his empire, into, beside the fact that he left thousands of kids, probably tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of kids of his own. Then these kids had kids. But not only that, but the forced sons who he divided the empire into, they continued his prolific breeding. So, you know, this branch extends quite extensively throughout the human population. Now, here's the thing. Is it important if the Hazara people are descended from Genghis Khan? Because they're trying to make this argument. No. What's important is that they believe they do, and what is the distinguishing features of them that makes them think they're descended from Genghis Khan? Red hair and blue eyes. Right? Makes sense. Popular general stereotypes or misconceptions can usually be resolved by seeing what the local conceptions are. And when you get into this area, that's what you find, basically. So I just want to, I have little notes over here on what I'm going to do. And now at this point, I want to talk about one more thing. It's in my research, I found a genealogy of Genghis Khan. So I'm going to pop that up here right now so you can see the genealogy of Genghis Khan and all his descendants. And these are only the one through his four main sons, the ones who took over his empire. What's interesting is what it says at the top, and I have to cheat to look over here. It says, genealogy of the ancient Tartarian empires. That's the translation of what it says on top. Genealogy of the ancient Tartarian empires. And this is an old genealogy tree. So I'm like, Tartaria. And that's where I'm going with this, and that's where later videos we're going to do are. So we have a genealogy of Genghis Khan, and at the top of it says genealogy of the ancient Tartarian empires. Those of you who don't know, Tartaria is something that a lot of people on the internet have been talking about. It's basically a hidden country. And I'm going to explore, that's what this video series is going to be exploring. So Genghis Khan, according to this, was the founding member of this ancient Tartarian Empire. And that's the genealogy of it. We're going to explore that in coming videos, and evidence for Tartaria. And some of the things, there's things called the mud flood. I've done extensive research and I want to do videos on that. But what this shows to me, though, is that Tartaria is real. And there's been abundant evidence that Tartaria is real. And it could be one of the reasons why we have this, if Tartaria is being hidden, as people claim, could be one of the reasons why we have this misconception of Genghis Khan. It could be intentional. We don't want them to have any understanding of what happened with Tartaria. He's some Asian guy, just a wild guy, and a nomad, nomad, just killing people. Just don't worry about him. Um, Now, the depictions of Kublai Khan as Asian are because his mom was Asian, and he's half Asian, half Caucasian. That's why we have this misconception, though. All of our knowledge comes from of Genghis Khan. Depictions of him come from Kublai, and people assumed, hey, yeah, we never seen Genghis Khan, but Kublai Khan's Asian. Let's look at him. So his dad was probably Asian too, and that's why we have those depictions of Genghis Khan as Asian. But the evidence is abundant, in my opinion. This is just some piece of the evidence that Genghis Khan, in fact, was red hair, blue eyes, and was a Caucasian. There's also, I want to pick up real quick. I'm going to throw up one of his sons. I found a statue of one of his sons, Batu Khan, or Batu Han. Throw it up right there. Look at him. He's Caucasian. One of the ways you can tell he's got a full beard. Now, you could say, oh, he married local. Okay, this is Genghis Khan's son. So if you're saying local, we already know who his mother was, Genghis Khan's wife. He should at least be half Asian. He doesn't look half Asian. He's got a full beard. Half Asians tend not to have full beards. Only Caucasians have full beards. So here, Batu Han, Caucasian. So we have the depiction of Batu Han here as Caucasian. There's also I almost forgot about this. Boom. This is a depiction of Genghis Khan from the 1500s. Look at the face. That's closer to the time period, and this didn't come out of China, so they had perhaps better knowledge and may have even seen him. He's Caucasian. So now, why that's important is because it ties to Tartaria and this hidden empire and whether it is being hidden or not. Thanks for watching. Everybody like, share, subscribe. I'm going to do a new Tartaria video very soon. Maybe, I'm not sure, maybe tomorrow, sometime at least within the next 7 days. Like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And everybody have a great one.